So, Boomer, what do you say we get into chapters 13 to 15 of Man in the Pond?
Sounds good to me, Al. But before we do that, you gotta tell them about this. Well, first we gotta show the thumbnail that his game tech made for you. But after that, I decided to have one of your chips, Al, because they look so good. They're just barbecue chips.
You can have them if you want. That's okay. I don't happen to need them right this minute, so I'm okay.
That's good, Al. But what I was starting to say is, after you show people the thumbnail that's Game Tech made for you, then you gotta tell them about all the changes you've made to the document from chapter 13 all the way to the end.
Oh, that's right. I wanted to be prepared and not get stuck rewriting parts of the story in the middle of editing a video and having to redo certain recorded parts of it, you know? I wanted to be prepared, so from chapters 13 all the way to 19, the story is done. So, now all I gotta do is read what's on my computer screen, copy and paste the text into VideoPad when I'm editing, and I'm good to go.
But that's good that you're prepared, Al. You know, this has been a learning process for us both. Just because not only are we doing voices of the characters, but we're trying to figure out the best ways to tell the story. And also entertain people. We gotta fit jokes in here somewhere because this story really is scary, Al.
Oh yeah, it is. Especially in the upcoming chapters, because from here it gets worse. You know, before it gets better. Let's just say it like that. When it comes to the scary stuff, from chapters 13 onwards, it gets worse before it gets better. But if you like scary stories, then it's probably just going to be a better story in general, but I won't say anything more than that. I don't want to spoil anything because I'm really excited to get started on chapter 13. And frankly, just chapters 13, 14, and 15 all together. I want to get through them.
Well then, we should get started, Al.
Oh yeah. So, I think I'm going to end this recording here as the intro recording. So, the actual chapters will be separate recordings from this. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I've been doing it.
Sounds good, Al. But now it's time to get the story started again. Because I'm excited to see what comes next. Even though I kind of already know since we've done this before, but it's a revised version. I want to see the changes you made.
Oh yeah, and I think when you see the changes, you're going to love them. They make the story really good. But without that... no, I can't talk. But with that out of the way, now it's time to get started on chapter 13. Actually, before we start on this, I wanted to say one more thing. I'm sorry that when it came to the thumbnail that I showed in the video, or that we're showing in the video right now, I kind of brushed over that when Boomer mentioned it. Truth is, I do love this thumbnail for chapters 13 to 15. I really love it. His game tech did a great job on it. Absolutely. But part of the reason why I'm in a hurry to get through chapters 13 to 15 is because I'm excited to show off the thumbnail for Friday next week. I'm excited to show off the thumbnail for chapters 16 through 18. That is probably my favorite thumbnail so far, but I'm not going to share what that is just yet.
Okay, Al. But now, we've got to get the story started.
Yep. Okay. Now it's time for chapter 13 of Man in the Pond. Get ready. Because the next 3 chapters, oh man, some wild stuff is going to happen.
Oh no! We better get started with chapter 13 now.
Okay, I'm going to do that. Back in Annie's nightmare, Carol continued to floor it as the school bus flew down the road, passing through the old neighborhood where the girl and her family used to live. Behind them, Ricky Stonehenge had grown into a massive, gangly creature with rows of razor-sharp teeth in his mouth, revealing his true demonic form. He towered up above all the houses as he chased the bus down, kicking cars out of the way and leaving craters in the pavement with every step. Glancing in the mirror by the stop sign outside of her window, Carol saw the creature. Crap! He's a lot stronger now! We're going to have to hide somewhere. Annie tried to think, but just as the bus approached the corner where her old bus driver used to live, Stonehenge pounced on the roof of the bus, putting massive dents into it as the tires burst. Hang on! Carol cried. Annie gripped the back of the driver's seat and held on for dear life as Carol lost control. Stonehenge leapt off as the bus crashed through a few cars that were parked by the sidewalk, while the axles squealed across the pavement, sending sparks flying. Jerking on the shifting lever and using the brakes, Carol eventually got the thing to stop on the front lawn of somebody's house before it could crash or flip. Come on! We have to get out of here! Annie got up out of her seat, just as Stonehenge's massive, clawed hand came crashing through one of the bus windows. She ducked just before the creature could grab her, and that is when Carol pulled the gun out of her jacket pocket once again. You can't escape from me, little girl! Growled the beast as it swiped at her with its massive claws. Get back out here! You okay, Boomer? We had to take a little bit of a pause, because after Boomer did Ricky Stonehenge's voice that last time, he had a bit of a coughing fit. We decided to cut that out of the video, but now we're snacking on chips.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm ready to continue the story after taking a little break. So, here we go. Taking aim with her gun, Carol shot the arm, causing the creature to vanish, just like it had done before. Unfortunately, Annie didn't wake up this time because she was far too deep in the coma to come back out of it. The brain-eating amoeba was still wreaking havoc inside her head, and the longer it took to defeat Stonehenge, the worse it would be. Head's a little itchy there. Around my eye.
Oh no!
I think I'm ready to continue the story again. So, helping Annie get up off the floor, Carol put her hands on the sides of the girl's face. Are you okay? He's gone now, but we only have a few minutes to hide. Annie shook her head because she was crying and clearly not okay. No, he won't stop. He just won't stop. I know, sweetie, I know. Carol said as she stuck her gun back in the pocket of her trench coat. "I only have one bullet left, since I shot him a few times before we died in the pond. I want you to hide in your bus driver's house while I create a diversion." "But I don't remember much of the house," Annie said. "I only saw a little bit of it every Halloween." Carol smiled. "That's good news, actually. The less you remember about it, the better place it is to hide. When I'm not around, Stonehenge can read your thoughts, but I could block them. I'll cover you." Hurrying off the wrecked bus, they frantically looked around for Stonehenge while Carol led Annie by the hand over to Joe Brown's house on the corner. Bursting in through the front door, they stepped into a laundry room in the entryway and came out through a doorway that led into a messy living room with an old sofa in it and a couple recliners covered in dog hair. All around the room was just solid walls and some windows beyond that, since this was all Annie could remember about the house. "Where should I hide?" Annie asked. Glancing back at the laundry room, Carol said, "There might be some space behind the washing machine. Come on." Leading the way, Carol discovered there was a big enough of a gap between the washing machine and dryer for Annie to squeeze through. Helping the girl get back behind those machines so she could hide, she then took out her gun and ran back outside. Letting the door slam behind her, she glanced around, looking for Stonehenge. Not seeing him, Carol went back inside and said, "I'm going to steal a car out here and lead him away from you if he shows up. I want you to count to 100 after I leave and go through the front door." "Where will I go then?" Annie cried. "I don't get this." Carol gave the girl a smile. "Just think of a place you want to be, and you will go there." Annie stopped to think, but then she smiled as well when she figured out where that might be. "Miss Woodman's supply room. I'll be safe in her classroom." "Exactly," Carol said. "I'll meet you there after you walk through the door. When Stonehenge chases me, I'll make my final stand against him just to buy the doctors some time." "The doctors?" Annie asked. "That guy said a germ was eating my brain." "It's true, but I can slow it down," Carol said. "Now hide and start counting to 100. Hurrying out of the house, Carol got in the nearest car she could find, a Jeep sitting in the driveway at Joe Brown's house. Using a bunch of old tarps that were in the back seat, she shoved some stones under it that she found lining the edges of the driveway, to make it look like Annie was hiding in there. As soon as Carol got in the car, the giant, gangling creature appeared once again. Putting the Jeep in reverse and flooring it out of the driveway, she sped off down the road. In the house, Annie closed her eyes and counted slowly to 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. She was almost to 15 when she heard the creature stomping around outside again. The sound of the Jeep outside squealing its tires distracted Annie for a moment, but when she heard the creature run past the house after the vehicle, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and finished counting. 16, Annie continued softly in her mind. 17, 18. After a while, things quieted down outside, but she continued to count. The amount of time she spent counting and wanting so badly to be with her old teacher for real seemed to drag on for eternity. But when she finally made it to 100, Annie squeezed out from between the washer and dryer. Hurrying over to the front door of the house, she pulled it open and stepped directly out of the supply closet in Miss Woodman's classroom. But unfortunately, the place was far too dark to feel safe in. Rows of desks with cubbies for books in them filled the room, and the open files in between the desks led straight up to Miss Woodman's desk. At the front of the room, Annie saw her teacher's blonde hair over the top of her spinning, leather chair that she always had, which was facing backwards towards the whiteboard. "Miss Woodman?" Annie asked as she slowly approached. "It's me, Annie." When Annie got to the desk, she put her hands on it and stopped. Waiting for a bit, she watched as the leather chair slowly spun around, revealing that her teacher's face had been replaced by the evil smile and dark, sunken eyes of Ricky Stonehenge. Backing away with a gasp, she realized that the woman in the coat was wrong. The monster had finally found her.
Wow, Al. Chapter 13. That was freaky stuff, man.
You're right. Chapter 13, ooh man. But just you wait. Chapter 14 might be equally as bad, if not worse. It depends on what your definition of equally as bad and worse mean. But I will say it's very scary stuff.
Okay, Al. I think I'm ready.
Well, before we continue on with chapter 14, I want to do this one chapter at a time, I think. So I'm going to end this recording here for chapter 13. And whoa. Well, we took some breaks during the course of recording this, so that's probably why we've been recording for so long. But we're almost to 19 minutes at this point for chapter 13.
Yeah, but we did stop to snack on chips here and there. You know, we took some breaks and stuff. You're gonna cut the breaks out. For the most part, I think. But yep, that's pretty much the plan.
Anyway, I'm going to end this recording for chapter 13. Alright. Now I think I'm ready for chapter 14.
Me too, Al. Because when we were talking about chapter 13 still, you really had me sold on chapter 14. Being equally as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, depending on your definition. But without spoiling anything, let's just get started on chapter 14. I think I'm ready to start it. After going outside to clear his head, Albert finally went to see the rest of his family at the ICU. He brought the paranormal investigators with him, but unfortunately, they couldn't bring any other equipment besides their Bibles and some flasks filled with holy water hidden on them. It was all they had to give them the confidence to actually beat this thing. The doctor was there talking to his wife, son, dad, and sister when Albert got there, and from the look on his face, it was clear he only had bad news to share. "I'm sorry, but this is only the second time we've dealt with this here at our facility. The medications are helping, but they seem like they're only slowing it down." Albert furrowed his brow at the doctor and had to ask for clarification, just in case he heard wrong. "Did you say the meds are only slowing it down? Are you sure?" "I'm sorry," the doctor said, before leaving the family alone. Martin was still sitting on his chair, but now he was crying, and so was the rest of his family. This strengthened the resolve of the investigators, who realized it was their time to shine.
"Let us take a whack at this thing,"
Steve said.
"The doctors tried it their way, so now we pray."
No one from Albert's family had any objections, including Albert himself. So the four investigators went into the room and opened their Bibles to the pages that had their exorcism incantations tucked inside. Steve shut the door behind them, and then all four of them approached Annie's bed and read their favorite verses. Then they praised God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost before flinging holy water on the unconscious girl. The sensations of holy water being flung on her caused her to stir and her eyes to open, but the eyes were clearly not her own. The evil spirit inside of her body yanked the breathing tube out of her mouth, and then it grinned up at them as it started to speak. Fully conscious now, the girl snarled and spoke in a gravelly, masculine voice.
Ouch! Don't do that! It's not nice to fling holy water on people when they're sleeping.
I apologize if Boomer and I are having a difficult time getting through some of these chapters. It isn't just the fact that they're scary, but, you know, we're trying to do voices of people that are not naturally our voices. Especially Boomer trying to find a balance between sounding demonic and sounding like a serial killer, you know?
Yeah, it's difficult to find that balance. Of course, just speaking in my normal voice is rough on me sometimes.
I imagine it would be. Not that there's anything wrong with your voice, I mean. I think it's something that you've accepted about yourself, and it's a part of you that you like to have fun with, you know?
Oh yeah! And I also like to do Steve's voice.
You're pretty good at it. Okay, so we took another break. Now I'm going to continue with the story again. Albert and Martin put their faces up to the window of the room, and they were horrified when they saw Annie's face. This caused the demon to glance over at them, with its pupils filling the irises of the girl's eyes completely.
Oh, look! It's Albert! Somebody give that man the Father of the Year award! Get out of her!
Steve commanded.
In the name of God, Christ, and the Holy Ghost, I command you!
The demon grimaced uncomfortably, but then it smiled and spoke to him in a mocking tone.
In the name of God, Christ, that guy, and and Casper the Friendly Ghost, I command you! You can't even say their names!
Steve growled.
That's how I know you're afraid of them!
The demon laughed.
Perhaps you're right. But have you ever asked yourself why things like me are afraid of things like them? I guarantee you. I guarantee you, it's not their holiness, love, or peace that we fear. Those entities you refer to may be self-righteous, but they're not good.
You're lying, Keisha snapped as she flung more holy water on him. This hurts you. The demon recoiled in agony when the holy water hit it, but clearly the evil spirit had other ideas for why it was painful.
Have you people ever read up on Gnosticism? It's a fascinating belief system. They believe a malevolent entity
Boomer, can you do it without laughing?
I don't know why I'm laughing, Al. Narcissism isn't funny in and of itself, but it's just that I'm trying to sound like a demon and it's not working very good.
Oh no.
I'm gonna try it again, okay?
Okay, I'll reread that part again. The demon recoiled in agony when the holy water hit it, but clearly the evil spirit had other ideas for why it was painful.
Have you people ever read up on Gnosticism? It's a fascinating belief system. They believe a malevolent entity called the Demiurge created the earth, and the creator of that Demiurge turns a blind eye to their cruelty and malice.
Gnosticism is false, Evie said, flinging more water on the demon. Life isn't all bad. There's good in this world, and I have to believe that God wanted all of it to be good, but things like you ruined it. Laughing in the voice of Ricky Stonehenge, Annie's demon talked back.
I thought you people always blamed Adam and Eve for everything. I mean, they clearly understood that eating the fruit would curse all living animals and people with suffering and death for generations. For generations and generations. Or did they?
Tyler flung the water on the demon last, once again causing it to recoil. But he didn't believe the spirit's words for a second. Get out of her! Annie is still in there somewhere! Snarling up at him like a rabid animal, the monstrous entity possessing the little girl told him,
and I would be more than happy to let her go if the father would take her place.
At that point, Albert couldn't take it anymore. He burst into the room and said, "Take me then! I'm right here!"
Al, no!
Steve said, blocking his path.
That spirit in there is lying to you!
What if it's not? Albert asked. Huh? What if it's telling the truth? What if something evil really did create our world? How can that be true? Evie asked, turning towards Albert. There's still good in this world. I know, but is the good worth all the bad? Albert demanded. I don't think it is. What if your God is the devil, and he sent the evil spirit to attack my family just to hurt me? Why would he send a spirit just to hurt you? Keisha asked. It already killed one child already. Because the father wasn't willing to throw his life away for that kid, was Albert's guess. Now, it wants me to do it too. At that, the demon burst out laughing, drawing everyone's attention to it, just as the lights in the room started to flicker.
Okay, Al, let's see if I can do it.
You ready, Boomer? You gotta sound really demonic here.
Okay, I think I am. The last child I killed with the amoeba was the son of a YouTube prankster. They thought filming their kids crying for views was the peak of success. He only felt bad once the kid was gone, but you I can see great potential for you and I, Albert. Al, this is messed up.
I know it is, Boomer. We're laughing when we should. This is messed up stuff, I know, Boomer.
Al, what are you writing? Oh no, Al. I can see great potential for you. I can't even say it again. Oh no.
Oh no, Boomer. Okay, I think we've calmed down here. So, yeah, I realize that what I've written here is some messed up stuff, okay? About the YouTube prankster stuff. But wait until you hear what comes up next. You know, this is a wild chapter. It really is. And Boomer and I have had to take several breaks. Especially Boomer, because he's doing a demon's voice here. Albert approached the demon. I always thought my brother was nuts. Rob is an anti-natalist, and he thinks having kids is wrong. I tried to convince myself otherwise, and had kids for my own selfish reasons. Now my little girl is getting her brain eaten by an amoeba.
That's not your fault,
Steve told him, before glaring at the possessed girl.
We're gonna send you away. Then you'll just kill the girl,
the demon told him.
And I'll go back into the pit with a smile on my face. My offer still stands, if Albert is willing.
Don't listen to him, Albert, Keisha yelled. We can do this.
Just then, 2 security guards and a nurse came running down the hallway because they heard the yelling. As soon as they burst inside, they were surprised to see the girl awake and talking. One of the guards was a big dude who resembled Superman, but with gray hair, and he was the first to ask, "What's going on in here?"
Get these people out of my room,
Annie begged in her sweet, innocent little girl voice. Her eyes were normal now.
Those paranormal investigators claimed I'm possessed by a demon, and now they're harassing me.
Come on, let's go, said the guard, motioning for the exorcists to step out. They did as they were told, but glanced at Albert tearfully as they passed him by. As soon as they were gone, he approached his daughter's bedside, and the guards and nurse left him alone with Annie, whose eyes and voice became demonic the moment they were alone.
So, you ready to make the greatest sacrifice?
Asked the demon. Albert nodded. Yes. What do I do? The demon grinned.
Go back to the pond and take a swan dive. Inhale my little germs into your brain and let me take care of the rest. Your daughter will be good as new again.
Okay, I'll do it, Albert said. I'll do it. Turning around and leaving the room, he passed the guards and nurse, who glanced at him briefly as they were talking to the investigators. Keisha called after him, trying to make him stop, but unfortunately, Albert's mind was made up. He would do anything to spare his little girl from the pain she was going through. He would do anything. And that is the end of chapter 14. We made it through, but it was a difficult process.
Oh yeah, it was, Al.
But I am going to go ahead and end this recording now, I think, because it's quite long already. So I'm going to end this recording. Okay. I think we're ready for chapter 15 now. Do you think we're ready, Boomer?
I sure hope so. This will be our third time of trying to record this. It's because we have to keep stopping to eat chips. Or you do, anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem there. But I think I'm ready for chapter 15 now, if you are.
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay. Here's chapter 15. After Albert rounded a corner and stormed down the hallway, the guards and nurse finally took a step back away from the investigators. If you want to pray for her, you can do it outside the room, the Superman guard told them. She's awake now, so she's clearly doing better, but that won't stay that way if she feels scared. You're right. We're sorry, Tyler said on behalf of his friends. All we wanted to do was help, but we went about it the wrong way. Glancing at him, the Superman guard said, I've been praying for the girl like crazy too. Believe me. Just do it the right way, guys, and we won't have any issues. The investigators agreed not to bother the girl, but they were still determined to finish their exorcism, whether Albert was there or not. All four of them knew he was about to get in his red car and floor it all the way back to the Stonehenge house. If he dove into the water and snorted the amoeba, he would more than likely die, and his daughter with him. Wanting to check Annie's vitals, the nurse went inside, but the moment she opened the door, she cried, "Oh my God!" Turning towards the room, the guard went over, and his eyes opened wide in shock when he saw the girl levitating over her bed and standing upright. Her face was different, and it resembled Ricky Stonehenge much more than her own, but the hybrid was a lot more disturbing than the killer's actual face. "How is she?" the guard started to say, but the evil spirit cut him off.
How am I doing this? The demon asked. Because I am Ricky Stonehenge, and I've come back as a spirit. When the Father gives me what I seek, I'll release the girl. She'll be good as new. I find that hard to believe, the guard snapped back. Grinning at the guard and the paranormal investigators who reappeared in the doorway, the evil spirit said, Do you have any idea how fun it is to tell people the truth, only to have them not believe you? I love this. Pushing past the guard and the nurse, Steve pointed angrily up at the demon. How about you just leave the family alone? If Jesus ain't enough to scare you, Keisha will be. You? Laughed the spirit inside of the girl as it glanced at her. A ghost hunter girl? I fear no mortal. Pushing past everybody, Keisha held up her hand, and right away the demon stopped levitating,
causing the girl to plop down onto the bed, even though she was still possessed. "I have a little something called confidence," Keisha told the evil spirit. "It's something that things like you fear even more. When a spirit can't be broken, it makes them hard to possess or influence in any other way." Stonehenge laid back on the bed and let out a painful squeal from Annie's lips as Keisha continued to taunt the wickedness inside of him and his host. "Go back to the pond where you came from. I have to believe that Jesus, divine or not, represents compassion and empathy, and that is what drives me. It is what will drive you away because you are the opposite of those." Wriggling and writhing, the demon struggled against her power, but soon it was overcome and sent back to the pond behind the house. Now we gotta pause here with 4 stars. The moment Carol Wright burst into Miss Woodman's classroom, she was horrified to see that Ricky Stonehenge was standing on the teacher's desk in his human form, using Annie like a puppet. She had strings attached to her wrists and ankles, as well as a 1,000-yard stare and a blank expression. And holding his hand over her head, the killer's spirit manipulated her with the strings. Taking out her gun, Carol approached the demon. "I have 1 more bullet left! Let her go!" Glancing at her, Stonehenge furrowed his eyebrows, but said nothing. His mouth was moving, but no sound was coming out. However, as he spoke, Annie's mouth started to move, and Carol realized that he had taken possession of the poor girl and was now talking to someone else.
Do you have any idea how fun it is to tell people the truth, only to have them not believe you?"
The spirit asked somebody Carol couldn't see.
"I love this!"
Then Stonehenge laughed at somebody and continued on.
"You? A ghost hunter girl? I fear no mortal."
Carol charged up at the evil spirit and shot him in the chest one last time. Tossing the gun aside, she ran over and caught Annie in her arms, just as Stonehenge toppled off the desk and fell into a crumpled heap on the floor behind it. "Hang on, Annie!" Carol cried, her eyes glistening. The girl in her arms blinked a few times before looking up at her. "Carol, please help me." Back behind the desk, Stonehenge wriggled and writhed on the floor in agony, right before he let out a terrified shriek and vanished. Helping Annie stand, Carol led the way around to the back of the desk and was surprised to see that the killer was gone.
"Where did he go?"
Was the last thing Annie asked before waking up in her hospital bed. Terrified, she screamed,
"Mommy! Daddy!"
Keisha lowered her hand and hurried over to the girl to hug her. "You're safe now. Just hang on."
"We have to go, Keisha,"
Steve said,
"before her old man does something stupid."
After hugging the girl and glancing back, Keisha said, "Go get her mother. I'll stay here, but you guys go get Albert."
"Where is my daddy?"
Annie asked, with tears streaming down her face.
"What happened to me? Where am I?"
Steve, Tyler, and Evie all left the room with the security guard and nurse before letting Lisa and Martin know that Annie was legitimately awake this time. Then they hurried out of the building and got into the van so they could stop Albert from handing himself over to Ricky Stonehenge directly. "You're at the hospital," Keisha told her. "You had an infection, but you're safe now. Your mom's outside." Then Martin and Lisa hurried in to see her, allowing Keisha the chance to go out into the hallway and take a deep breath. What she did had been the most terrifying thing she'd ever done, but somehow she did it. She performed a successful exorcism without having to whisper a single bit of scripture. How that happened, she had no idea. And that is the end of chapter 15.
Wow, Al. You write some messed up stuff, man.
I know I do. A part of me wants to publish this and, get the copyright issues legalized and get all the deals made with whoever I need to, but, I'm almost afraid to even share this story with the world. And there's still more of it left to go yet. We still got 2 videos to go after this before we can wrap it up.
That's right, because we got through chapters 13, 14, and 15. You okay, Al?
Yeah, I had to stop and get a chip and have another one. I'm going to cut out the crunching, but as much as possible. But I'm going to have another one. Anyway, that was chapter 15. And I just realized something. After we finished recording chapter 15, when the paranormal investigators go out to tell the family that Annie is awake and no longer possessed, for some reason, Martin's grandfather, or Annie's grandfather, and her Aunt Sarah are not there anymore when they should have been there. So where did they go? I didn't think of that. I just completely forgot about them having to be there,
You may have to fix that mistake in the document.
You're right, I may have to do that. What I may end up doing is, at the beginning of chapter 15, when Albert storms down the hallway, I think his father and his sister should follow him part of the way, but maybe they could just, stop near an elevator or something and not follow him all the way,
Yeah, that could work. Then that could be why when they go out and tell Martin and Lisa that she's awake, why is only Martin and Lisa there?
Yeah, that might explain it. Even though that's not how I wrote it. But anyway, I had to point out that mistake because I know someone else was probably going to point it out eventually. So I'm going to have to try to fix this somehow.
I'm sure you'll figure it out, Al. But now it's time to end the video here.
Oh yeah. I can't believe it. We got through chapters 13, 14, and 15. And these 3 chapters were a wild ride of insanity. Absolute insanity. But I'm going to end the recording.